Welcome back to the Daily Venture as I talk about how HBO Max's Green Lantern series has changed gears again, with Guy Gardner and Alan Scott no longer a part of the main cast. Instead, HBO Max will redevelop the forthcoming science fiction undertaking to focus on fan-favorite Green Lantern, John Stewart. It marks the fourth attempt for Warner Bros. To establish a Green Lantern mythos in the larger DCEU. The first was when Warner Bros. Tried to start the DCEU with Ryan Reynolds appearing as a Green Lantern in 2011. Sufficient to say the film didn't do so well at the box office, thus putting a stop to a sequel. Years later, there was discussion for a Green Lantern Corps movie that, if I remember correctly, was supposed to feature John Stewart and Hal Jordan in a kind of rookie and veteran story but was ultimately shelved. Then came Alan Scott and Guy Gardner, which I mentioned above, which was supposed to be an HBO Max show but is now scrapped. There was also Zack Snyder Justice League film, which was supposed to have Wayne T. Carr play John Stewart but was replaced by Martian Manhunter due to creative differences between Snyder and the studio. However unlikely, it's currently unknown if Carr will take on the role of John Stewart in the forthcoming series. John Stewart first appeared in Green Lantern number 87 in December 1971 and January 1972. He was created by writer Denny O'Neil and artist Neil Adams. The tale, Beware My Power, presented John Stewart as a stubborn young man, an architect who had a distaste for officials having power over him. He was this way, seeing as Hal was essentially a space cop. But because of John's bravery, the Guardians of OA selected him as Hal's backup lantern because his recent backup, Guy Gardner, upheld severe injuries. So Green Lantern Hal Jordan and John butted heads from the very beginning. Stewart was also the fourth person to take up the mantle of Green Lantern, and he was the second African-American superhero to appear in DC Comics, the first being Black Panther. As reported by The Hollywood Reporter, Green Lantern is experiencing a substantial visionary overhaul. Writer and showrunner Seth Grahame-Smith have left the series after finishing the story for an entire season of 8 episodes. Finn Wittrock and Jeremy Irvine, who was meant to depict Guy Gardner and Alan Scott, are not a part of the series. Executive producer Greg Berlanti and his Warner Bros. TV-based Berlanti Productions are still active from the earlier image. The innovative overhaul reportedly has zero to do with the current news that James Gunn and Peter Safran will come together and co-lead DC Studios as the team begins their new positions on November 1st. Furthermore, sources say the character of John Stewart was off the table to producers who envisioned the show as focusing on the first Green Lantern, the openly gay Alan Scott, and Guy Gardner as well as a multitude of other lanterns from comic book favorites to never-before-seen heroes. With DC Comics topper Walter Hamada's recent exit, a decision was made to start over and build the show around John Stewart. The character who first appeared in the early 1970s and was modeled after Sidney Poitier. While Guy Gardner is great because he's a blockhead, Alan Scott is a golden age hero who's seldom been delved into. Hal Jordan's personality could best be characterized as square-jawed, so I believe this change is for the best. THR also reported that showrunner Seth Grahame-Smith, writer and film producer, best known as the author of the New York Times best-selling novels Pride and Prejudice and Zombies and Abraham Lincoln, and Vampire Hunter, has exited the HBO Max series after completing scripts for an entire season of 8 episodes. The live-action Green Lantern TV show has been in the works since October 2019. When Green Lantern was first announced, the series was depicted as a decades-spanning tale that would concentrate on a multitude of other lanterns from comic book favorites to never-before-seen heroes. Green Lantern was subsequently verified to aim at Alan Scott, the first Green Lantern, and Guy Gardner, the ultra-manly Green Lantern. The DC series' initial idea would include newer Green Lanterns, Jessica Cruz, and Simon Bass. Green Lanterns put Wittrock and Irvine into the series in 2021. Following Walter Hamada's current release from DC Films, the higher UPS determined to refocus Green Lantern around John Stewart. The character emerged in 1971's Green Lantern number 87. Stewart was the second African-American superhero to appear in DC Comics. Although John Stewart was a favored addition to the comics, the character only performed fan-favorite status once his included in the DC Animated Universe series Justice League, where Phil Lamar voiced him. John Stewart recently arose in the DC Universe animated film Green Lantern, Beware My Power, expressed by Black Adam, played by Aldous Hodge. Fans may be dissatisfied to hear that the Green Lantern series has again begun from scratch. but Green Lantern met the forthcoming series with a far more pleasing future than the other DC undertakings on HBO Max. The streaming service's parent company, Warner Bros. Discovery, has been on a content purge to find $3 billion in savings. WBD cut HBO Max's forthcoming DC offerings, beginning with the Batgirl movie. The DC Collection series Strange Adventures, which would concentrate on cautionary tales regarding superheroes and supervillains, was withdrawn, while the forthcoming fourth seasons of Titans and Doom Patrol have been whispered to be their entities. Although Green Lantern has weathered the chopping block, its funding has yet to. The forthcoming series' initial allocation was assessed in the $120 million range, but will now be significantly less. Green Lantern does not have a date on HBO Max. Aside from the HBO Max series, Jon Stewart also appeared in the 2001 animated Justice League series that gave him mainstream stardom. The character also appeared in the 2022 PG-13 animated film Green Lantern Beware My Power. So that was the news for today. How do you feel about Green Lantern Jon Stewart appearing in an HBO Max? Are you disappointed that the Warner Brothers killed the project with Finn Wittrock and Jeremy Irvine's portrayal of Guy Gardner and Alan Scott? Do you think the HBO Max series will be a part of the DCEU? Would you like to see Wayne T. Carr take up the role of Jon Stewart again? Who else would like to see in the Green Lantern series? Either way, thank you for watching, and please leave a like and comment below on your thoughts on Jon Stewart appearing in an HBO Max series, as I would greatly appreciate it. Until then, venture onward.